Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, welcome to my channel. Today I'll explain you the French Revolution. On the morning of 14th July 1789, the city of Paris was in a state of alarm. The king had commanded troops to move into the city. Now the rumors were spread that he would soon order the army to open fire upon the citizens. So they decided to form a people's militia and gathered in the front of the town hall. And there were 7,000 men and women. They broke into a number of government buildings in search of arms. Finally, a group of several hundred people marched towards the eastern part of the city and stormed Bastille, which was the fortress prison where they hoped to find hoarded ammunition. In the armed fight that followed, the commander of the Bastille was killed and the prisoners were released, although only seven were there. Yet, the Bastille was hated by all because it stood for the despotic power of the king. The fortress was demolished and its stone fragments were sold in the market to all those who wished to keep a souvenir of its destruction. French society during the late 18th century. In 1774, Louis XVI of the Bourbon family of kings ascended the throne of France. He was 20 years old and married to a princess, Marie Antoinette of Austria. Upon his accession, he found an empty treasury because long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. And added to this cost, there was a cost of maintaining the extravagant courts. Under Louis XVI, France helped the 13 American colonies to gain their independence from the Common Army Britain. The war added more than a billion livres to a debt that had already risen to more than 2 billion livres. Livres was the currency of France. So the France government was obliged to spend an increasing percentage of its budget on interest payments alone. To meet its regular expenses like cost of maintaining army, court, run government offices, universities, state was forced to increase the tax. In France, the society was divided in three states. First estate was of clergy, second nobility, and the third estate was of big businessmen, merchants, court officials, lawyers, peasants and artisans, landless labor and servants. Peasants made up about 90% of the population. However, only a small number of them owned the land they cultivated. About 60% of the land was owned by nobles, the church, and the other richer members of this third estate. The members of first two states, that is the clergy and the nobility, enjoyed certain privileges by birth. The noble further enjoyed feudal privileges. These include feudal dues, which they extracted from the peasants. The church too extracted its share of taxes called tithes from the peasants, and finally, all members of the third estate had to pay tax to the estate. A direct tax called taille and a number of indirect taxes which were levied on articles of everyday consumption like salt or tobacco were asked from them. The burden of financing activities of the state through taxes was borne by the third estate alone. The struggle to survive. The population of France rose about 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. This led to a rapid increase in the demand for food grains. Production of grain could not keep pace with the demand, so the price of bread, which was their staple diet, rose rapidly. Most workers were employed as laborers in workshops whose owners fixed their wages, but wages did not keep pace with the rise in price. So the gap between rich and poor widened. Now the things became worse whenever drought or hail reduced the harvest, and this led to the subsistence crisis which occurred frequently in the old regime. Subsistence crisis is a situation where the basic means of livelihood are endangered. How a subsistence crisis happens. First, there will be bad harvest. If there will be bad harvest, the grains will become scarce and the prices of the food will rise. Because of this, the poorest cannot buy the bread for longer time and will become weaker and easily prone to disease, which will lead to deaths. And also, if the people could not buy the bread, there will be food riots, and this will lead to increased number of deaths. A growing middle class envisages an end to the privileges. In the past, peasants and workers had participated in revolts against increasing taxes and food scarcity, but they lacked the means and the programs to carry out full scale measures that would bring about a change in the social and economic order of the society. This was left to those groups within the third estate who had become prosperous and had access to education and new ideas. The 18th century witnessed the emergence of social groups who were known as middle class society and earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade and from the manufacture of goods. In addition to merchants and manufacturers, the third estate included professionals such as lawyers, teachers, administrative officials, and all of these people were educated and believed that no society should be privileged by birth. Rather, a person's social position must depend upon his merit. These ideas, envisaging a society based on freedom and equal laws and opportunities for all, were put forward by philosophers such as John Locke and Jean Jacques Rousseau. In his two treatises of government, Locke sought to refute the doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. In the old regime, people thought that the king was sent by God. Rousseau carried his idea forward, proposing a form of government based on a social contract between people and their representatives. In the spirit of laws, Montesquieu proposed a division of power within the government between the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. These ideas of philosophers were discussed intensively in salons and coffee houses and spread among people through books and newspapers. These were frequently read aloud in groups for the benefit of those who could not read and write. The news that Louis XVI planned to impose further taxes to be able to meet the expenses of the state generated anger and protest against the system of privileges. The outbreak of the revolution. In France of the old regime, the monarch did not have the power to impose taxes according to his own will. Rather, he had to call a meeting of the Estates General, which would then pass his proposal for new taxes. The Estates General was a political body to which the three states sent their representative. Last time this meeting was called in 1614, but the monarch has the authority to decide that when to call the meeting of this body. On 5th May 1789, Louis XVI called together an assembly of the Estates General to pass proposal for new taxes. A hall in Versailles was prepared to host the delegates. The first and the second estate sent 300 representatives each, who were seated in rows facing each other on two sides, but the 600 members of the third estate had to stand at the back. The third estate was represented by its more prosperous and educated members, but peasants, artisans, and women were denied entry to the assembly. However, their grievances and demands were listed in 40,000 letters which the representatives had brought with them. Voting in the Estates General in the past had been conducted according to the principle that each state will have one vote. This time too, the Louis XVI was determined to continue the same practice, but members of the third estate demanded that voting now be conducted by the assembly as a whole, where each member would have one vote. This was one of the democratic principle which was put forward by philosopher Rousseau in his social contract. But when the king rejected their proposal that each member would have one vote, they walked out of the assembly in the protest. The representatives of the Third Estate viewed themselves as a spokesperson for whole French nation. On 20 June, they assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court in the ground of Versailles. They declared themselves a national assembly and swore not to disperse till they have drafted the constitution for France that would limit the powers of the monarch. They were led by Mirabeau and Abessius. Mirabeau was born in a noble family but was convinced of the need to do away with the society of feudal privileges. He brought out a journal and delivered powerful speeches to the crowd assembled at Versailles. And Abessias was originally a priest but also supported the Third Estate. He wrote an influential pamphlet called What is the Third Estate? Now, while the National Assembly was busy at Versailles drafting the constitution, a severe winter had meant a bad harvest. The price of bread rose, and often bakers exploited the situation and stopped the supplies. After spending hours in long queues at the bakery, crowds of angry women stormed in the shops. At the same time, the king ordered troops to move into Paris. On 14 July, the agitated crowd stormed the Bastille. In the countryside, rumors were spread from village to village that the lord of the manor had hired bands who were on their way to destroy the ripened crops. Now they were caught in a frenzy of fear, and the peasants in several districts seized hoes and pitchforks and attacked Charteux. Charteux was the castle, or we can say the residence of the king or their nobles. They looted and hoarded grains and burned down documents containing records of manorial dues. A large number of nobles fled from their homes, and many were then migrated to neighboring countries to save their lives. Now, faced with the power of his revolting subject, Louis XVI had to finally give recognition to the National Assembly and accepted the principle that his power would be checked now by the Constitution. On the night of 4th August 1789, the Assembly passed a decree abolishing the feudal system of obligations and taxes. Members of the clergy too were forced to give up their privileges, and tithes was abolished and land owned by the church was confiscated. France becomes a constitutional monarchy. The National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution in 1791. Its main object was to limit the powers of the monarch. These powers, instead of being concentrated in the hand of one person, were now separated and assigned to different institutions: the legislature, executive, and judiciary. And this made France a constitutional monarchy. The Constitution of 1791 vested the power to make law in the National Assembly, which was indirectly elected. That is, citizens voted for a group of electors. Now there were two types of citizens: active citizens. Active citizens were the men who were above 25 years of age and paid the tax equal to 3 days' wage of a laborer, and they got the right to vote. And then there comes the passive citizen. Passive citizens were the people or the youth who were below 25 years of age, women and children, and they did not have the right to vote. Then the active citizens voted for electors who were 50,000 men, and in turn these electors chose the National Assembly of 745 members, and they had direct control over king and the ministers. In the institution of judiciary, judge came; in executive, king and the ministers; and in legislature, National Assembly and the electors. The constitution began with a declaration of rights of man and citizen. Rights such as right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law were established as natural and inalienable rights. That is, they belonged to each human being and no one can take them away. And these rights were given them by birth. It was the duty of the state to protect each citizen's natural right.